Hey guys, it's Alex. I'm here with my May wrap up and my June TBR, which is a little bit out of control, but we'll get to that in a minute. Not going to really go into depth on any of these books because I do post reviews or book talks for everything that I read. And if I haven't posted these yet, I will soon. I think my next 2 videos are going to be reviews on the books I haven't done yet. But this is my nice lovely pile. 8 books this month, which is pretty solid. My favorite 2 were definitely Right Naked and Geekerella, which I'm doing my Geekerella review on Friday. So my thoughts on that. Basically it was really good and I highly recommend it. And my least favorite of the month was Truth and Beauty by Ann Patchett. You've heard my thoughts on this and you don't really need to hear them anymore. Basically, 8 books. It was a pretty mediocre month for reading. Right Naked and Geekerella were the only 2 I really liked. The others were just sort of fine for the most part. And next month I'm hoping is going to be better. I think I'm planning to read more literary fiction next month. But yes, we'll get to my massive TBR now. I have a sickness and I just continue adding books to my TBR forever and ever. The really bad one is gonna be War and Peace. There is a read-along going on for this from June 1st to July 31st and I got suckered into joining it. Oops. I read most of this in high school. I got through I think the copy I was reading was thicker than this. But I did about 700 pages, I think, which is about half in that copy. And I don't know if I'm going to keep on pace because they're reading 6 chapters a day, which, if you know War and Peace, is not a lot because the chapters are really short and I don't really do that. I tend to binge read stuff. It was really good, just so very long. My other books, there are 11 of them, and I don't really plan to finish all of them this month, but I would like to make progress on at least 8 of them. I'd like to finish 8 of the books in this list. I could live with that, and the other 3 are just sort of present so that I have options to choose from because I sort of just read whatever I'm in the mood for. The book I'm currently reading is Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. I've not made super much progress in it, but I will hopefully finish this in the next few days. And it's good so far. I highly recommend Margaret Atwood. I also have Plan B and Further Thoughts on Faith by Anne Lamott. This is a book of essays that are faith-based, and I'm not religious, so that's why this book has been sitting on my shelf for a while. But I did really want to read something by Anne Lamott because I read her book on writing, Bird by Bird, and loved it, and I really wanted to see more of her writing style. So this will be an interesting read for me. Another book of essays, Halls of Fame by John D'Agata. We read something by him, or a collection that he edited in my creative writing class, and when I saw this book, I picked it up, and I sort of started reading it last year. I read a few of the essays, but I would really like to sit down and read the whole thing because they're more lyric essays, kind of, and I really enjoyed what I've read so far. Bee Season by Mila Goldberg. I've heard really good things. I still don't know that much about this book. If you remember from one of my earlier book hauls, I got this and I still haven't read it, but I do want to. Mila Goldberg is supposed to be really good. Naked by David Sedaris. I read When You Were Engulfed in Flames a couple months ago, I think, and that was really good. And I've actually read the first essay in this book, and it was good. And I really do like David Sedaris, and I need to read more of his stuff, so I want to get through that this month. The Pleasures of Men by Kate Williams. That is her name, yes. Yes. Historical fiction, thriller, possibly romance, I'm not sure. But I haven't read a historical fiction in a while. Well, I'm actually reading Alias Grace, which is historical fiction. But that's more lit ficky, and this is more mainstream. I feel like there's a really big difference between the two. But I do want to read this. I don't really know what to think of it. I might like it, I might not. I know basically nothing about it or the author. Alfie by Bill Naughton. Saw the Jude Law movie. Apparently that was a remake and there's an earlier movie. So I'll definitely watch that for research purposes. You know, gotta do it for the research. This should be a pretty quick read. I'm just vaguely curious as to what it is and if the movie was accurate. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, so I don't even really remember the story other than he had a lot of sex with a lot of people. Should be good, maybe. Moment of Truth by Lisa Scottoline. A generic contemporary thriller. I know nothing about it, but I just threw it in because I would like to read a thriller this month, and I have this thriller, and it's sort of been staring at me since I got it a couple weeks ago. But it looks good, and I feel like thrillers like this are rarely terrible, so it should be pretty decent. Waking Up Screaming by H.P. Lovecraft. It's a collection of his short stories. They're horror, hence the waking up screaming and the terrifying cover. But I feel like I should have read Lovecraft by now, and I haven't. So I'm hoping to get through this. I meant to read it last summer, and I got distracted and didn't. But I would really like to get through that this month. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I somehow got away with never having read this book, or Gatsby, but Gatsby is not on my list for this month just because there's so much other stuff to read. But this is, and I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, because people seem pretty much 50-50 split on whether they loved it or they hated it, and I just want to have an opinion. So I don't know. The cover of this one is really cool, I think. Like, I've had it on my shelf for years and never read it, but hopefully I will read it and enjoy it. Ideally, I would like to enjoy it if possible. And the last and final book is my book of shame for the month. It is Titus Grown by Mervyn Peake. I stole this from my friend in about September, and it's been sitting on my desk collecting dust since then. I haven't read it, and it's reached the point where I cannot return this book to him until I've read it. Because you can't just keep a book for 8 months and then give it back like, oh yeah, I never actually got around to reading it. So I really, really, really have to read this month. Like, I don't have an option to not read this. This is probably the most important thing I really need to read. I feel so bad that I've had it for so long, and I kept meaning to read it. I really, really did. I started it a few times. It's just like a old high fantasy, which isn't really my thing. And the story didn't grab me when I first started it, and I just need to force myself through it because it'll probably be better once I've actually gotten more than 6 pages into it. But I really need to read this. So that is my slightly massive TBR for the month. 12 books is probably a little bit excessive, but like I said before, I'm really only aiming to read 8 of them, plus however far I get into War and Peace, and I'm really excited for the War and Peace read-along. I'm hoping that will be the motivation that I need to finally finish it, because it's been years, and it was really, really good. It was just so long, and I couldn't stick through it to the very end. That is my plan for the month of June. Let me know if any of y'all have read any of these books, or what y'all are planning to read, if you haven't done your own TBR list for the month. I'm actually really looking forward to getting through these books because most of them have been on my TBR list for quite some time now, and I'm desperately trying to make headway. Hopefully you will get updates and reviews throughout the month on these books as I read them. In an ideal world, that would be the case. But for now, that's all I have for y'all. Bye, guys!